All right, legend, welcome to week 5, which is all about focusing on now building that strong core and shred these abs as we all want, right? Again, getting your abs visible, right? Seeing your abs and seeing them look in the mirror, right? It all comes down to your body fat percentage. It all comes down to your diet to a certain extent, right? We can't really train our abs visible. But what we can do is we can strengthen the foundation underneath, because you can see people being quite lean, but they don't really have any separation. They don't really have any abs or anything. And it's because they haven't really trained and haven't really developed and target that area there, right? They might just be lean. So if you can't see them yet, right? Don't worry. We will build the foundation underneath there right now. And what I'm gonna share with you and what your focus area in this week here right now is going to be how you're developing that connection with your app and how you're building that strong core. So when it's time to be visible around that area, they're shining through, they're strong, and they're looking really, really good. So as for speaking of your abs and the connection with your abs, it comes down to the same as every other muscle part. So as we talked about in the week of time on the tension and thinking about the muscle, it really comes down to the same exact thing here. So if I'm going on the floor here right now, and I would do a typical crunch, right? A lot of people would do this, right? They would go through the hip area and don't really they would just do an A to B movement. Like I'm just gonna get up. Of course, I'm hitting a little bit of my abs, but not near as much as I could, right? So the way I would do instead of just doing an A to B movement, I would do a controlled movement instead. And you can do it in many ways with your legs up or legs down. Doesn't really matter. You're just gonna get the contact to the abs first. So when you're doing your abs and your core workouts, think about this area that you want to contract it. Extend and contract it, right? So if I'm doing a crunch here right now, contract and stretch out. Contract and stretch out, right? So you can see again here, it really comes down to the time on the tension, and then again for you to put the attention to what you're trying to do, right? Let's say we're going into a core, into a plank exercise. We're going in here, we're doing your plank right now. And again, a plank is kind of like, it's a very static movement, so it's very hard to kind of like concentrate around. But that's where your job, instead of just standing here, right, and don't really feel anything, you're gonna make it hard for yourself by contracting, by thinking about your abs and contracting that area, almost like almost like you're going to the bathroom, like you're just thinking about contracting that whole center area of your body. So when you're going into a plank, instead of just standing, you're contracting, right? Squeeze your glutes, squeeze the lower part of your area, and squeeze the front. Almost like imagine you're about to do a crunch on the floor there, right? So contract, hold it, and contract. And by doing that, I can almost burn my core off in like 10 seconds. Right? It's a little bit like if you're just tensing, standing up against the wall in a wall sit, for example, with your legs, and you just tense instead of just standing up against, you would feel the burn very, very quickly, right? Same when you're going down here right now in a leg rise, for example. When you're doing a leg rise, which is through your hip area, it's kind of like hard for many people to kind of like feel, right? They're just lifting their legs. So what I want you to do now instead, again, think about contraction. Think about holding it together, right? So when you're laying here, you're doing your leg rises. Instead of just going up and down with your legs, you're now coming up a little bit and then you contract as you go up. Control it down and contract. So you're kind of like, you're meeting, almost like you will do a sit-up. You're meeting yourself up there. Control it down. Leave your feet over the ground all the time. Always tension on. And then up and meet there. So when you're doing your app-specific workouts, always think about time on the tension. always think about control and always think about contract the muscles. Don't just do the movements. Never do a sit-up just for the sake of doing a sit-up. Think about your ab area like a contraction movement, right? Again, when you're building your core up, it's not just your ab exercises like crunches and leg rises and these sort of things, like a plank movement combined with also like a deadlift you can do either with a trap bar, a normal bar. These sort of movements really strengthen your glute area and around that center area. So your core is basically built upon that lower back, glutes, and then the front where your abs and your core are, right? So again, that's why we're having these compound movements in there to really focus on stability and stabilize that center area of your body. So it's not just crunches and looking good, right, and feeling the burn in your muscles, but really strengthen that core foundation there. So again, that's your focus area for this week here. When you're doing your ab sets, when you're doing your ab exercises, think about contraction, think about time on the tension. Put that into place right now, legend, and I promise you, whether you can see the abs right now, when you can start to see them, they will be more visible, they will be more defined, and they will look so good.